Thanks, Tech. Now, this is a question from Paul By. He says, why did you change your mind on Amazon?
Well, I'm tempted to repeat the I'm stupid explanation just for the sake of brevity and completeness. I think, like an awful lot of decisions, it's a bit complex insofar as they changed a bit and I changed a bit. I think, or we changed a bit. So our view changed somewhat. And their business changed somewhat. Let's just deal with what changed in their business. I think that's the most important thing is, firstly, we've always said that we didn't like the returns. Well, the returns have started to come through an awful lot better. I've got the returns table in front of me because I knew you were going to ask the question, obviously. And if you look at their return on capital, you only need to go back to 2014 and it was negative. It's now in the teens, basically. It's clearly on an upward trend. And return on equity has actually got into the mid to high 20s now. So clearly the sort of, our first sort of cross in the box of does it pass has begun to be removed. Then you look at the individual businesses, and I'm going to go through this in a bit of detail, Ian. The Amazon Web Services business, the cloud business, we've always said we liked, and presumably we don't have to debate. It's basically one of the titans alongside Microsoft in the cloud computing infrastructure sector. So we've got a business here with somewhere north of $50 billion of sales, and it's growing probably around 20% per annum, and with 5% of the world currently in terms of its computing currently in the cloud, probably has decades rather than years ahead of it of growth. So we needn't worry about that bit, would be my suggestion. Then let's look at the rest, because that's where we'd always worried, the e-commerce bit, and it was loss-making and so on. A few things have begun to change there, or our opinion of them has begun to change. And I'll just touch upon three. One is the breakdown between first-party and third-party revenues. When you buy something, or we buy something on Amazon, it can be Amazon selling it to us, or it can be a third party. And the financial characteristics of those two things are quite different. When Amazon sells me something for $10, then it shows up in their revenue line as $10, and they make whatever margin they make on the $10 item. When they sell it on behalf of a third party, all that shows up in the revenue line is the commission they charge. And the other thing is they don't carry any working capital. It's sitting in their warehouse. It's got to be for them to send it to me. But frankly, the commission is much more pure profit, and there's no working capital or cash flow strain. So the financial characteristics of that commission on the third party item are far better than the first party item because it's nearer to pure profit and it doesn't have very much capital strain involved. Yeah, it's got some fixed capital in the warehouse. There's no working capital. They don't own the item after all. And that balance between first party and third party has been changing very markedly. In the final quarter's figures for last year that we had for them, the third party was had risen to about 56% of the sales. And I think that's something that we, and I mean the wider we in terms of the world, hasn't fully grasped the different characteristics of that. Secondly, there's Prime, there's Prime subscription, which you sign up for and you get free next day delivery, and you probably use it for media, maybe music, video and so on. This is a powerful engine. I mean, we're now north of 200 million members in this. Just to give you a few yardsticks, Apple has got 98 million members, right? And this, of course, is something with Apple Music that they've been running since the day of the iPod MP3 player. Disney Plus has got 104 million members. Costco has got 61 million members. Right? This is quite powerful stuff. And it's a double positive insofar as, on the one hand, it makes us do more stuff. If you're a Prime member, you buy more stuff, you shop more frequently, and so on and so forth. Just as Costco's members obviously have bigger baskets and so on than people who are non-members who shop at Walmart and so on and so forth. And it's also quite a good profit source. I mean, they've just put the price up on the US membership from $119 to $139 per annum. That $20 extra on, I think it's nearly 100 million users in the US, is pure profit. So that's $2 billion of additional income, for which the marginal cost, I think, is a programmer going 119, delete the first two numbers, put 139 in, send. That's it. It's quite a powerful lock-in and a powerful profit. And finally, advertising. You'll probably have heard an awful lot about the development of the Apple operating system, iOS 14 and 14.5, and the fact that it makes it more difficult for people to trace the impact of advertising because we have to opt into the use of our data for that. That's true, and it's a headwind for Facebook in particular, or for the Meta platforms to use. Amazon has an advertising business. You'll see when you go on there, they'll have a promoted product very often that will come up as something, go on there to buy something, it'll come as a promoted product. This is first-party data. They're not relying upon somebody else out here. This is not, I go and buy something using my phone and they have to access either Apple or they have to operate Android and Google to get the data on did I respond to the advert, how did I respond to the advert. If I go on to Amazon and I want to buy some diving goggles and they put me up their advert for a set of diving goggles and I buy them, they can be pretty certain about how effective it was. Then when they send me the follow-up advert for a pair of flippers and I buy them, it's not a matter of debate. So, this is quite a powerful business that we've got here. And I think it's growing in power because of the problems of other party with third-party data. So we're talking about here a business that's, in the, I think, $20 billion sort of range, growing at 50% per annum. This is quite a powerful engine that they've got. So all of those things, I would say, are changed. And it combined with a period in the last year of share price weakness as Amazon lapped the obvious surge in business during the pandemic. And like a number of other things that we think had a very good pandemic and then a downturn, we're quite interested in buying them during those periods of weakness that have come, if we don't think that the downturn is anything other than them lapping the events. Jules, do you want to say more or less?
The only numbers I was going to add was that if you look at the CapEx plus R&D that Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Google are spending, it's between 30 and 50 billion a year. In the case of Amazon, it's 117 billion a year. So we think that down the track, Amazon will be on a free cash flow yield, again, by the time we come back here in a few years' time, of something higher than our portfolio average at the moment. So, and it's something that, to Terry's point about Costco, they could basically switch that free cash flow on any time if they wanted to.
Right, so to return to